My name's Sophia and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. I have not filmed videos in a very long time because August I started school, which was interesting, and I have work, so I was trying to figure out my school schedule, my work schedule, as well as reading so I can make YouTube videos about reading, etc. Hopefully I found a way that I can get everything in motion. So like I said, today we have my August wrap-up. I read, I believe, 9 books. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 9 books, and I'm going to talk about them today. Also, sorry if the angle's weird. I've been having issues trying to set up my tripod the same way for every video, so if it's different, I apologize. So the first book I read in August was Hamlet by William Shakespeare. I read this because I didn't read a classic in July, so I wanted to kind of catch up in a way with classics I've read this year, and so this was one of the ones that were on my list, and it was a Shakespeare play I hadn't read yet, so I read it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It is a tragedy, however I think my favorite tragedy that I've read is still going to be Othello. I just liked it a little bit more than Hamlet, though I will say I did enjoy Hamlet, and I can see why it became such a popular Shakespeare play. But yeah, it was fun. I was like kind of laughing because I kept seeing scenes from The Lion King as I was reading this, because if you don't know, Lion King's a loose Hamlet retelling, so I just found it funny. But yeah, Hamlet, 4 to 5 stars, and it was a nice quick read. I think I read it in like 2 hours. The next book that I read was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I was in the mood for some spooky books in August. A few, kind of, we'll see, not really, a few spooky books, but this was one that has been on my TBR for forever, so I decided I would get to it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. This takes place in the 80s and follows a group of friends where they go to, I believe, like a lake or the beach, and then one of their friends gets possessed that night, and it's kind of the process of her having an exorcism, hence the title, My Best Friend's Exorcism. Yeah, this was the most fun. I wanted a little more horror aspects. There were some scenes that were pretty scary, but yeah, overall could have used a bit more. The 80s setting was really nice and fun. I liked all the references to movies and the fashion that's typical 80s. So yeah, it was really fun. Not my favorite horror book, but I do look forward to reading more from this author. And if I didn't say it, I think I did 3.5 stars. Next we read, so this month I read a lot of independently published books because I've been on Instagram quite a bit, just scrolling, haven't been posting, gotta fix that too. But I found a couple series that I've been wanting to get into, so I read like the first book and a bunch of those. The first one being A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a modern day Hades and Persephone retelling, and it follows Persephone and Hades, my favorite mythological like gods. I love Hades and Persephone. I love retellings of Hades and Persephone. They're just, I love them. And so this takes place in New Athens, and it follows Persephone as she tries to have a mortal human life, and then she ends up going to one of Hades' exclusive clubs, making a deal with him, and then their paths cross, and yeah, it's just a really fun romance, modern romance following Hades and Persephone. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I love it, and I can't wait to continue with the rest of the series. Anyways, the next book I read took basically the entire book world by storm, and that's Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. If you don't know, this is the 5th book in the Twilight saga. It basically is Twilight but through Edward's point of view, so it is literally just Twilight but through Edward's point of view. I gave this 3.5 stars, which I think is what I gave Twilight upon my reread. So yeah, it was interesting to see things through Edward's point of view. I'm hopefully gonna film a whole video on this like I did about Twilight, so if you want to go check out my thoughts on rereading Twilight 11 years later, I'll link that video up above and down below. But yeah, this one was interesting, but like I said, 3.5 wasn't like magical or anything. It just kind of was nice to read, and my 9-year-old self would have been extremely happy with it. So there's that. Next, we have another independently published book, and that is For Tuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. This is a new adult fae story, and oh my god, did I love this. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. This was so good. I saw this floating around when on the accounts I saw A Touch of Darkness, and so I picked them up around the same time, and I flew through both of these within like less than 12 hours. I just love these books so much. But like I said, this one is a fae story, but it also has other mythological kind of creatures. Like our main character for Tuna is a completely different creature than any of the other ones in the book, so I don't want to give away what she is. But yeah, it's just really interesting, and I'm going to read the sequel. Spoiler for my September TBR, but the sequel isn't that. So yeah, very fun, very fast paced. Like I said, 4.5, another favorite of the year. Like I said, I loved A Touch of Darkness, and so I picked up the sequel, A Touch of Ruin by Scarlett St. Clair. So this one picks up immediately, like first page is like picking up immediately after the last page of book 1. I liked this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars instead of what I gave the original, which was 4.5. I think the plot lines in this one, there were just too many that I didn't have like this big overarching focus. Well, Hades and Persephone's relationship is the big thing, but there was a lot of smaller ones that I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But I will say the setup for the third one I'm very excited for, because that's like the big like climax of the story, I guess you could say. So I'm super excited to read the third one. I think it's gonna be another 4.5 hopefully, which I think it comes out next year. But yeah, still love Hades, still love Persephone in this. I love the side characters despite some stuff happening that I was just like, what? But yeah, we meet more of the gods. Love Hermes. Apollo was okay. Hades still wins. So there's that, 4 out of 5. Next we have another independently published book that was weird, and that's Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. I've read Penelope Douglas's other series, I believe it's called the Fall Away series or something along those lines, and I really love that series. It is a new adult romance series, and this one is also new adult romance. It's dark romance, and when I say dark, I mean like it gets insane. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. And I think the thing is that this is very dark. Like it gets really like gruesome and like gritty, and I wasn't expecting it. Also, the plot can be a little confusing, which I'm gonna make it even more confusing because I suck at giving descriptions. We all know that. Their chemistry between the two main characters is good, and I liked kind of how their romance built, but like the overall, I don't, it's weird. The second half is a lot more clear, but the first half I was kind of like, what's going on? I'm gonna continue with the series because it follows the other people mentioned, and I think they get better, but it was weird. It was gritty. The chemistry was fine, but yeah. 3 stars. It was a pretty average thing. I just wasn't expecting what I got, if that makes sense. Anyways, that was this. Speaking of gritty, gory, and not expecting what's happening, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I read this. This is a Gothic horror book that was recently released, and wow, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This starts off pretty okay. It starts off like a kind of classic Gothic thing where you get introduced to the creepy setting, the creepy people who live in the said creepy setting, and like you kind of get the feel for it. But the second half of this book really just goes for the horror aspect, and it was so good. And it was just like so, oh my god, there was one scene that involved, I can't even tell you, it's spoilers. I will say this book, and for Corrupt, I will suggest that y'all go to Goodreads and look up trigger warnings, because there's things in both this one and this one that could be triggering to people. So I would go recommend looking those up, as I think they'd be very helpful. But yeah, this just got dark real quick. Like as soon as you hit like the halfway point, it just goes dark, and I was just like that's what I was wanting. So like the first half, it wasn't the greatest, it was kind of slow, but then you get to the second half, I was like, never mind. It got like, it escalated. There's a really sweet romance. Just a side note, I really liked the like little sweet romance happening. But yeah, the horror like graphicness of it really takes place. I really liked it. If you don't know, it takes place in 1950s, I believe, in Mexico, and it's nice. It has like a haunted house-esque plotline, a weird family dynamic, and it's really interesting, and I do recommend it, and like I said, 4 out of 5 stars. And we've come to the last book, keeping up with the spooky train. We got Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I was doing a read along of this alongside some people on Instagram, and this is one of my favorite classics. It's Gothic classic. I've read it, I believe, 4 or 5 times now. I can't quite remember how many. But yeah, I love this book. I always give it a 4.5 stars. It's just so good, and I love Frankenstein's monster so much. I hate Frankenstein so much, and yeah, 4.5, classic, Gothic. So that was my August TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I enjoyed making this. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I would greatly appreciate it, and it would really help out my channel. And yeah, until next time, bye guys.